It's a very, very good morning and a very, very bright Saturday morning that we come back to you on your screens to discuss nothing but the best of local football. And it's been a very, very great, busy and very, very entertaining sporting week where we saw our own girls emerging victorious in that particular game against Namibia. We saw also on a sad note where we lost and buried our very own kind of bride Banda, who went to be with the Lord in the course of the week, and may his soul rest in peace, and we wish the family God's blessings in this trying moment and God's comfort. I'm not alone in the studio this morning. I'm your host, Rabson Skombe, and I'll be with Juan Augustine, Rio Flowers, and Red Arrows, ardent guy. Good morning and welcome to the show this morning, Augustine.
Good morning, Uncle Rapson. We turn all the glory and honor to the Most High God, and good morning to all our viewers out there for tuning in once again. It's been an eventful week, like you have said. We saw Patson Daka coming in against Manchester United for Leicester City. We saw Enoch Mwepu start at the Craven Cottage when they played Fulham. Fashion Sakala also started in midweek for Rangers in the Cup game. They're playing an Old Firm derby. Is it tomorrow? It's good that we are seeing these youngsters, Zambian products, doing it at the very highest level, especially Lamek Banda. Yeah, for Lecce, he started life at Lecce very, very well. He was a threat for Napoli in midweek when they went to play Napoli away from home. And we saw Klins Kangwa playing in his first ever Serbian derby. I think it's very, very good for Zambian lads.
We will come to those nitty-gritties, and this morning, first things first, Augustine, our ladies had a game in midweek against Namibia at the Hollywood Bets COSAFA tournament that is being held in South Africa. And we saw the coming back of our very own and highly spoken Barbara Banda getting on top of her game and getting a brace in that particular game. What's your take about a very good start that we've seen from our girls? Coach Bruce Mwape's interview after the game, he practically said we managed the game in the last few minutes because we saw how Namibia was coming on them. And I think it was nice to see Barbara Banda back in the team, taking that leadership role and delivering the results as predicted in our show last weekend.
Exactly. I think one thing is that we started where we left off at the Africa Cup of Nations. We are going into this tournament as favorites together with South Africa, the host, and the coming in of Barbara Banda just boosted our chances because she's a very, very big threat to all the defenders that she plays. She'll stretch defenses. She would play. She can come deep to collect the ball and run at people. Now she's playing with Ochumba Oseke. Grace Chanda is not part of the team. She's the leader of this team, and she's going to drive this team. She'll get us goals like she did in the game against Namibia. I think it's going to be a very, very good tournament for us because it allows Bruce Mwape to work with the girls to sharpen them and make them better going into the World Cup. And I see Zambia going all the way and winning this particular tournament.
A very, very good congratulations to the girls who emerged victorious in that game against Namibia by a good scoreline, 2-0, both goals coming from our very own Barbara Banda. Tomorrow, Augustine, Zambia faces Lesotho at the Hollywood Bets.
I think it's
by the way, Lesotho won their first game.
Yeah, they did. They did. I think they'll be bubbling with confidence, and you cannot be very. I think when you're playing a team like Zambia, the occasion itself, it motivates them, so they'll come out, they'll try and fight, but I think we've got enough in our arsenal to try and gun them down. We had to get what from the medical team, the extent of Barbara Banda's injury. I hope it's not that bad because we still need her in this tournament. Zambia's a clear favourites going into this game. I expect us to win it by maybe 3 goals and cement our place on top of the table and surely qualify to the next round.
Interesting things that have been happening across. We saw in the course of the week where FAS parted ways with Eden University for the sponsorship of the Division 1 League, and now it's called the FAS National Division 1 League. And we will come back to look at the fixtures and the results and the log standings of Division 1 as well as the Zambian Super League that is entering 3 this weekend. And for now, we'll take a very, very short break, and on the other side, we'll get into the nitty-gritties of the National Division 1 and the Zambian Super League. Before, time permitting, we look at our very own young lads who are plying their trade across Europe and on the African continent as well. For now, we'll take a very short break and we'll be back on the other side.
This Saturday, 3rd September 2022, Camnet Stars Football Club, popularly known as the local national team, will be hosting Kawata Dynamos at Kablonga Secondary School grounds. Time 15 hours. Don't miss this Born for Greatness entertaining soccer team in action. Camnet Stars, your champions of today and tomorrow.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
This Saturday, 3rd September 2022, Camnet Stars Football Club, popularly known as the local national team, will be hosting Kawata Dynamos at Kablonga Secondary School grounds. Time 15 hours. Don't miss this Born for Greatness entertaining soccer team in action. Camnet Stars, your champions of today and tomorrow.
Welcome back to this particular show that discusses nothing but the best of local football. Augustine, during the last weekend, our very own Camnet Stars, very own Camnet Stars, the so-called local national team, have begun their trade in the Division 2 of the first organized league, and the first encounter they won by 2-0, and it was interesting to see that particular game at Margaret Manakate grounds in Bowling, where Bowling Tigers were beaten hands down at their own home ground by 2-0 by Camnet Stars. And this weekend, Camnet Stars is at home hosting my local township in Kawata Dynamos. So Kawata Dynamos will be finding their way to Kablonga Boys Secondary School, the home of Camnet Stars Football Club. And that particular match is going to kick off at 1500 hours this afternoon. All the best to the lads. Coach Elijah Chkwanda, our very own patron and matron of the team, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chiruba. We wish the team nothing but the best in today's encounter against Kawata Dynamos. Keep flying that Camnet color very high, because Camnet is not just another channel, but now local games are becoming interesting, because Camnet is getting to a very competitive level, and very soon it shall be the discussion of topics in the studio when we are discussing the Premier League very soon. So that fixture, we are asking all of you that stay around Kablonga, across the city of Lusaka, find your way to Kablonga Boys Secondary School and go and have a look at the talent that we have as Camnet Stars in that particular encounter against Kawata Dynamos. Believe you me, you will not even have a blink of an eye while watching those lads. There's some serious talent there. And Augustine, you've watched those boys before, very quickly before we shift our focus to the National Division 1.
Yeah, I think very impressive, the boys, the way they are coordinating the football that they are playing. They are very fearless. They have come into this division and taken it by storm. They were very brave, winning away at the Margaret Manakat, where it's not an easy place to visit every time we go to Bowling. There are a lot of talented players. Now they are coming up with the Kawata Dynamo side, which was previously coached by Francis Kombe. They are very talented boys. It will be a very good game, and I expect Camnet Stars to stamp their authority and get 3 points at home, because they haven't been dropping a lot of points at home.
Well, That's said and done. All eyes shift to the National Division 1 now. Let's begin looking at our league table for the National Division 1 before we go to the main one, which is the Zambian Super League. Our very own Inter Milan, our Kurunzonga, Mike Mufrira Wanderers. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Please, what is your name and tell us where you are calling us from?
This is Tembo calling you from Eastern Province.
Gule wa Mkulu. Good morning.
Morning, thank you. I want to contribute on the show.
Please go ahead.
Yes, tomorrow wish the Copper Queens all the best as they face the Soto. Yeah, now back to my concern is the South African League. How is it helping our players? Because most of the people that have gone there, especially in the recent years, they don't seem to be digging. Mr. Augustine, if you can shed light, for example, the likes of Augustine Mulenga, Justin Shonga, we don't seem to hear about them anymore. Even Andrew, we are closer to the national team. There was this other boy from Zesco United who was complaining with Jesse Were. He went on fire there. We cannot longer hear about him. Muowo is back again, almost finished. So maybe your comment on our players going to South Africa. What is the main problem? Is it the environment there, or is it the upkeeping, or we may need to understand? Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Tembo, for coming through. We appreciate your call. Augustine, a very, very interesting comment from Mr. Tembo from Chipata. We will respond to him very quickly before we lose our focus on the National Division 1.
I think he's spot on. If you remember the times when we had James Shamanga would go there, win top scorer, Christopher Katango would go there, win top scorer. There was a time Collins Besoma is the record holder when it comes to number of goals scored in a particular season. But now you've seen Zambian players, they go there, I think they flop. Most of them is talked about. Razardas Kamboli was on fire here at Zesco United. Scored the quickest hat trick in the Champions League against Mbabane Swallows in Swaziland. Then he goes to Kaizer Chiefs. He's just scored 3 goals in about 52 games, which is very, very bad if you ask me. Austin Moore went there. He hardly kicked a ball at Orlando Pirates. He struggled. Augustine Mulenga, I think for Augustine Mulenga it was a matter of change of coaches which affected him so much his time at Orlando Pirates. Then he went to Amazulu. He was doing very well. And then again, it's a matter of change of coaches. Ben McCarthy was sacked by Amazulu. Then Augustine Mulenga was injured and then he was released. He's a free agent right now. Justin Shonga, likewise, he's also a free agent. We have got players like Gambani Lungu who are doing very well in South Africa. Super Sport, they beat Mamelodi Sundowns yesterday. We have got Friday Sam, who is settling in very well in South Africa. Dostan Sawata and Rodrick Okawe are doing very, very well in South Africa.
I think for me, one of the things that is actually causing this particular shift in the performance of our players is the competitive nature of the league itself. And I think the Zambian league is becoming more and more competitive, if you ask me. And truth be told, the Zambian league is probably stronger than the South African league.
I think we need consistency with our players. I think the biggest problem is that whenever they go into South Africa, it's different from here. Probably they won't be consistent week in, week out, but when they go there, they want consistency because you're coming in as a foreign player. Remember, South Africa have got certain rules of how many foreign players you can register. So if you're not ticking as a foreign plaer, probably they will create space for another foreign player. You look at Charles Zulu. He went there to Cape Town City. It didn't work out for him. Rally Warrior is gone into Amazulu. He hasn't yet break through into that starting 11. So you need to go there as a foreign player. You need to be 2 times better than the local players for you to play in the PSL.
Very quickly, back to our initial discussion where we are focusing on the National Division 1 League. And this afternoon with 3 games. This weekend, we start our 3 games. But let's look at the table. In the National Division 1, occupying the first position is Mufria Wanderers. They have played 2 games and they have a 100% record. They are sitting on 6 points. They are closely followed by our very own Mtondo Stars. They are also at 100% to the start of the league. They have played 2 games and won 2. Indeni Football Club are also stamping their authority, having been relegated from the Zambian Super League last season. They have played 2 games and won all their 2 games. Sitting on 4th position is Bats FC that has played 2 games, sitting on 4 points. Trident is sitting on 4 points as well. Zesco Malite Rangers is on 4 points. Aguila Stars is sitting on 3 points in 7th position. Kongola Blade, surprisingly, occupying 8th position with 3 points. Young Green Buffaloes 3 points. Kitwe United 2 points. Atletico Lusaka 1 point. Danger starts on the 13th position, where relegated from the Super League. We thought that Lusaka DYNAMOS would find their way up there. They are sitting in the 13th position, played 2 games, won nothing, occupying that famous 0 number. So those are sitting at 0 points. There's Lusaka DYNAMOS, there's Jumulo. Sitting in the red zone of relegation is Mpulungu Haba, Kafue Eagles, Kafue Celtic, and the new entrants who have not kicked a ball but have been bounced back by Football Association of Zambia after the disbanding of Gomes Football Club. An opportunity has been given to Livingstone Pirates to come back to the Division 1 League, and they will be kicking their first game of the season this afternoon with, against City of Lusaka Football Club. Let's look at the fixtures for this afternoon, Augustine, in this particular league, which is proving to be very, very competitive at this particular point. This afternoon we have Zesco Malite Rangers hosting Kitwe United at Queensmead Stadium at 15 hours, and this game is going to be live on ZNBC TV3. Augustine, Zesco Malite Rangers have a very, very good start to the season.
Yeah, I think brilliant start by Zesco Malite. They played their first game at Unilas. They were hosting Atletico Lusaka, a local derby, and it ended goalless. And then they went to Chidawombo to play Sharp Kongola Blades, which is not very, very sharp. They went and won by one. Is it 1 goal to 2 goals to 1 or 1 goal to 0? Yeah, a brilliant free kick scored by Gilbert Tembo, a player who had moved to Zesco United at some point. Then he was loaned back to Malite Rangers. They'll go into this encounter probably as favorites, if you ask me, because last season, if you remember, second half of the season, they are very, very tough to beat at home. They won big results at home, which saw them survive relegation. And coming up against Kitwe United side, who have found home in the National League, and they do not look very, very organized. Kitwe United. They have kept a lot of players for some years, like Lolozi. I don't know why they keep certain players for so many years. They are not moving forward, and I feel this is a Zesco Malite victory.
Battle for survival. Mpulungu Haba is hosting Kafue Celtic. Both teams have played 2 games, recording nothing but negative results. They are all sitting at 0 points, and now Kafue Celtic has made that long journey to Mpulungu, and that must be a very, very interesting game. Whoever wins that game gets out of that red zone of relegation, in the jaws of relegation.
I think if you look at Mpulungu Haba, they've brought in, Kebiha Chipuka, who is now the head coach of the team. Kafue Celtic on the other side, they have got Joe Walia, who is their head coach. He has lost his right-hand man, who is Nchimunya Mwetwa, who has since moved on to Buildcon Football Club. He's lost a couple of players. Probably the entire starting 11 he had last season, he has 0 players. They were recruiting new young players to try and play in the National League. I think it will take time for them to get to a certain level that they'll be very, very competitive. But this game against Mpulungu Haba side, which has had a shaky start as well, during the playoffs, I think one thing we noted is that they didn't have the strength and depth in Mpulungu Haba. They had a very good starting 11, but when it didn't go well for those players, they didn't have players to come and change it for them. But going into this game, playing in front of a big crowd at home, I think the best save you can get there is a draw.
Coach Joe Wale has a very, very big battle this afternoon against Mpulungu Haba. Shifting our focus to Kafue Eagles. Kafue Eagles is hosting, I think they will be hosting Jumulo this afternoon. Kafue Eagles is a team that played our very own Camnet Stars in one of the preparatory games, and Camnet Stars emerged very, very victorious, sending a very, very strong signal to this Division 1 that Camnet Stars is on the way coming back, getting to that particular league, and we will be a force to reckon with. They host Jumulo this afternoon. That game really is going to be very, very interesting. When you look at 2 average teams, Jumulo were very, very strong last season. they have started very, very poorly this particular season.
Both teams have started poorly, Kafue Eagles and Jumulo. Jumulo, you would have expected for them now to be knocking on those promotion places. If you look at how they started last season, they were in the top half, top 6 in the first round of the season. Then they dropped off in the second half. You would have expected a team like Jumulo to just, from where they left off, to start from there, start strong this season. But they have started poorly. They are playing against the Kafue, is it Kafue? Kafue Eagles, yeah. I think this is a side which it was previously owned by Green Eagles, the DYNAMOS. Now it's owned by the Kafue Township. It's going to be very, very difficult for them to survive in this league. They'll have to start getting points on the board, and games like this one are the ones that you call 6-pointer, because they are facing fellow strugglers.
Aguila Stars is hosting Sharp Razor. I don't know that we can still call them Sharp Razor. They are very, very bland actually. They are sitting in mid-table after 2 games, and they have traveled all the way to Lusaka to face Aguila Stars at the Unilas grounds. Have you been to that Unilas grounds?
Beautiful.
Beautiful grounds. Congratulations to the University of Lusaka for that infrastructure. It's a very, very good playing surface, very, very good terraces, and Aguila Stars is using it as their home ground as they host Konkola Blades this afternoon. It's
going to be a mouth-watering encounter. If you look at Aguila Stars, the last time they were away from home, they played Atletico Lusaka, won by 2-1. They fought very, very hard. They have got a youthful team. Makundika Sakala, he's sharpening his boys very, very well. They're playing some good football. They're coming up against the Konkola Blade side, which was relegated last season from the Super League. They've lost a couple of players. Willard Mwanza, Owen Tembo have since moved on to Super League teams, Tapson Kaseba and other players. If you look at their strengthening, they've brought in Ronens Chungu, former Power DYNAMOS, and Zanako fullback. He's with Konkola Blades. I think coming into a game against an Aguila side which is inexperienced, I feel Konkola Blades may just be too strong for the young lads.
Konkola Blades have stuck to Charles Wale and hoping that his trip to Lusaka starts materializing. They haven't started very well, like Augustina said, and wishing the best team of the day to win that particular encounter. Let's now focus the other fixture that is going to be very, very interesting, which is Young Buffaloes making a trip to Northwestern Province, where they will be facing Trident this afternoon. Your comment on Diaz Kakunta's Young Buffaloes?
Diaz Kakunta, he's got a side of Young Buffaloes, players who played at GBFC at some point, and now they feel like they're not good enough to play at Green Buffaloes. They're playing at Young Buffaloes. There's some unpolished diamonds at Young Buffaloes. Diaz Kakunta, he's going to face a very, very tough test away against Trident. I think they are recruiting every player they saw. I think Anos Tembo has moved to Trident. They're forced to reckon with Trident. They've done good business, and I feel going at home is where they'll pick maximum points. It's where they will try and build their campaign from their home games to try and challenge for those promotion places. They started very well last season. We saw Pedro Miguel score 14 goals in the first half of the season, and I feel they will just be too strong for Buffaloes going there.
Indeni kick-started their league with a 100% record. They are sitting at 6 points from 2 games, and they'll be hosting our very own Toyota Arena hosts as in Atletico. They've made a short trip to Ndola this afternoon to face Graven Chitalu's place in Indeni Football Club this afternoon.
Yeah, I think last weekend Indeni Football Club played Mpulungu Hub. Mpulungu lost by 2-1. Graven Chitalu was on the score sheet. He scored from the penalty spot. The veteran Graven Chitalu, ageless Graven Chitalu. I think he's coming up against Atletico Lusaka, very, very youthful side. They play good brand of football. Probably they play the best football in the league. They're very, very fearless. The young boys, they'll go there. They've got players who are called up for the national team, the likes of Charles Majapa. They've got Kings up front there. He was the top scorer in Division 1. They've got Desmond Nyirenda, a young prolific striker. He was part of the Lusaka Dynamo setup at some point. I think the Gavenchita will be coming up with one of the most promising centre back I've seen. Gift Mpande is a very, very good centre back. Gift Mpande for Atletico Lusaka. In the few years' time, he will be playing for these top leagues. Going to Indeni, I think the boys will find it very, very hard. They will try and dominate play, but Indeni's experience and ruthlessness in front of goal with the age-less Gavenchita, probably they may come out as victorious, but they will be given a very, very good run for their money, especially in central midfield. They've got young Julius, young Charles Majap. I expect a very, very good game away in Dola.
Let's look at Livingston Pirates. A very quick bounce back to the Division 1 league. After having visited provincial football in inverted commas, after being relegated last season, they are back in the Division 1 league. Like I said earlier, they will be hosting City of Lusaka with a very, very new coach that has joined them, and hoping that this partnership of City of Lusaka, they've parted company with our very own Albert Mbande. Now they have a foreign coach in their books, and we hope that a trip to Livingston will actually materialize in something that they can look forward to this afternoon.
Another sleeping giant in the Eden League, City of Lusaka. They have stayed there for so long. It's high time that they get their act right. They've backed the managers in the transfer market in recent years, but it hasn't happened. Now they've brought in another expatriate to try and see him get this team promoted into the Super League, because City of Lusaka, the way the club is being run currently, I think it deserves a place in the Super League. They're being run better than most of the clubs in the Super League. I think what they need to do is probably in their decision making, they need to be. They have sacked a lot of managers in a brief space. It's very, very difficult for players. They are adjusting to different philosophy and tactics almost after 3 months, and it's very, very difficult for them. Can they just stick to this manager until the end of the season and see what happens? They are coming up against a Livingston Pirates team which was preparing for life in provincial leagues, and now they have been brought back to the big league. It's not going to be very, very easy. This league is very, very unforgiving, like the Super League.
And you know, Augustine, a situation where you were preparing for provincial football, most of the good players that we are sitting
have moved on.
They have moved on because they wanted to maintain a certain level of competitiveness. And now this show come back to Division 1 might just unsettle Livingston Pirates for a few games to come as they play their first 2 games. They are behind by 2 games, so they will be playing probably every weekend and every midweek to catch up. But looks like City of Lusaka will be smiling at the end of the day when they play the newly promoted guys in
the Livingston Pirates. I think City of Lusaka will have no one to blame but themselves if they fail to collect 3 points against this Livingston Pirates side. I felt Livingston Pirates, it was high time they went back to the provincial league. They reorganized themselves, because if you remember, they had Coach Wupe, who was doing very, very well for them. Then they parted company, and then that's when this problem started. I felt they would have had a good season probably in a provincial to try and put their house in order as they come back to the Super League, to the Eden League. But I feel City will win this one.
Very quickly, Mighty Mufria Wanderers, the log leaders of Division 1, will be hosting nothing but a resurgent Lusaka DYNAMOS that has not lived up to our expectations. They are sitting at 0 points in 13th position, and they have traveled to Mufria to go and face Mufria Wanderers, and that game will be live on ZNBC TV3 tomorrow at 15 hours. Very quickly, Augustine, on that game. Very, very quickly. Mighty
Mufria Wanderers look like a team that will bounce back to the Premier League. I think they have been in the Eden League for 3 seasons.
They have always been looking like they'll bounce back. They always lose it in the last few
This time around, I think Jeff and the other Mighty fans are very, very optimistic. They'll bounce back.
He's now a quasi fan.
He's a Mighty Mufria Wanderers fan, Jeff. And we have got Evans Musonda in their ranks. He scored a very, very late winner when they played Mutondo last weekend. They are going into this game against the Lusaka DYNAMOS, which hasn't collected any points. Mighty Mufria Wanderers will win this one, and Mighty Mufria Wanderers will be one of the 4 teams to qualify back into the Super League.
But we'll be hosting Mutondo Stars tomorrow again at 15 hours. I have not watched Bat before, but I think Mgondo Stars were very, very outstanding in the playoffs. I'm yet to watch them in the Division 1, and they are sitting at 6 points, and they have a game tomorrow against Bat. Whoever wins will go on top of Mfria Wanderers if Mfria Wanderers decide to feel sorry for Lusaka Dynamos. Let's shift our focus. Would you like to comment on that game before we quickly move?
But I think they've had a brilliant start to life in the Eden League. They're doing a very, very good job in terms of marketing. If you've seen that on social media, the way they're marketing their games, they're bringing fans into the stadium to fill up the stadium and give the team the much needed support. And I feel Bats will be one of those surprise packages in the Eden League.
Very quickly, we will now focus our attention to the Zambian Super League. Enough said and done of the Division 1, and may the best team win in this particular fixtures that will be taking place this weekend. We'll take a very, 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 very short break, and on the other side, we'll focus our attention to the Premier League games that are entering 3 this afternoon and tomorrow. We'll take a very short break and be back on the other side.
This Saturday, 3rd September 2022, Camnet Stars Football Club, popularly known as the local national team, will be hosting Kawata Dynamos at Kablonga Secondary School grounds. Time 15 hours. Don't miss this Born for Greatness entertaining soccer team in action. Camnet Stars, your champions of today and tomorrow.
Welcome back to the last segment of our show this particular morning, and to our dear viewers who are watching us by television, feel free to call us in and give us your contributions as we focus on this afternoon's fixtures. Augustine, very interesting game this afternoon, and let's begin by looking at what happened in midweek. Last week's results, we saw what happened in the course of the week. We saw Cabo Warriors
register their first victory.
So you're talking about Cabo Warriors registering their first victory. I am focusing on Red Arrows registering their first loss of the season.
Oh yeah, you always pick positives when it comes to Red Arrows results. I think Red Arrows went to Kawe against the Kawe side, which had picked 1 point from my possible 6. George Lwandamina, he needed the victory, because the longer it takes for you to get your first victory, the difficult it becomes, because players start losing confidence in what you are preaching to them every day in those training grounds. And they went in front through Dominic Chanda, an early strike Dominic Chanda, to put Kawaras in front. I think there are a lot of questions that I've received which will probably need answers. How did Dominic Chanda play in that match, because he was sent off against Ngana Football Club?
Ghana.
Yeah, probably it was a direct red, which should be 3 games, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't see whether it was a second yellow or a direct red.
So we will need to try and investigate that further. Yeah, he played. He's the one who scored, and Cow Warriors from that, when they knew that they had to have a strong start against Red Arrows, when they scored an early goal, then they sat back. I think they were very, very brilliant defensively. They were very, very organized. The way they shuffled that back line, the way they were very, very compact. They allowed Red Arrows to have space in wide areas, so that Red Arrows put in crosses into the box, and they backed themselves to win the first balls, Warriors, and they did that very, very well. They closed spaces in the box. The Red Arrows didn't have those attacking runs that they always make, because Warriors were very, very compact. And George Lwandamina, credit to him for making them being very, very organized. Warriors, it was a very good result. Red Arrows will have to bounce back in the game against the Kansanshi Dynamos. What Red Arrows is doing is that they don't want to overload themselves when continental football comes. They don't want to have a lot of games in hand.
Let's look at the ambitious FC Musa. They traveled to Independence Stadium in Choma, and they faced Green Eagles, who are coming back from, they needed that particular victory against the FC Musa to just boost their morale after an embarrassing loss to Rumwana Radiants the previous week. They went on to beat FC Musa last weekend, and now FC Musa is facing their fellow strugglers in Chambishi Football Club this afternoon, who also lost to Green Buffaloes last weekend.
Chambishi Football Club look like they are the whipping boys of the league. They have failed to score any goal. They have been beaten against GBFC and against Anako. They were beaten. Now they are playing a Musa side. If they cannot get a result in Mazaboka against Musa, I think they will be very, very frustrated because they are a Super League side and Musa just be a newly promoted team. But having said that, Musa look very, very strong. Andrew Piri, they have got the goals in him. When he plays up top, he'll score them goals. He'll win the games, especially at home. And I feel Musa won this one.
Forest Rangers is occupying that particular important slot in position 6 of the log, and they will be facing their fellow strugglers of their township fellow strugglers in Dudcon Football Club, who have a 100% record on the negative side of the league by losing their first 2 games, and now they will be away to Forest Rangers this afternoon.
Dudcon were in panic mode on transfer deadline day. They tried to sign a couple of young players. Paul Banda from Zesco United. They've tried to sign Mubita, the young player who was loaned to Zesco Malite from by Zesco United. They tried to sign him. They've probably acquired the services of Tafadzwa Risike. And they're coming up against a Forest Rangers side who have had a decent start to the season. Last season, Forest Rangers, their undoing was their conceding part. They leaked in a lot of goals, but now they have started the season very, very solidly. They've kept 2 clean sheets at Railway against a George Rwandamina side, and at home against a Kansashi Dynamo side, which is tutored by Boyd Mulwanda. Now they're coming up against a Dudcon side. They'll go into this game as favorites. They'll have to get the 3 points Forest Rangers, and I tip them to win it by 2-0.
Very interesting fixtures this afternoon. Probably the game of the day today is in Choma, where powerful DYNAMOS have made a long trip bypassing the capital city of Lusaka, traveling all the way to Choma to go and face Green Eagles, who were smiling last weekend after winning their game against FC Musa. Let's focus on Green Eagles, and they are coming back to where they should be. Now they host league leaders in powerful DYNAMOS, the smartest club.
Tonga Twende. I think how fortunes change. If Green Eagles win this game against DYNAMOS, it will be a good start to the season, because they would have had 6 points on the board and beaten the log leaders in DYNAMOS. And on the other side, if DYNAMOS get a result, not just a victory, even a draw, if they just get a result in Choma, it will be a very, very big statement that they've sent to the Super League DYNAMOS. I watched them against a Lumana region side. They showed 2 sides, probably 3 sides of them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There were times when DYNAMOS dominated play. They looked very, very good on the ball, and they scored 2 goals from Kennedy Musonda, and then they switched off. Then they allowed Lumana regions to grow in the game and take the game to DYNAMOS. Then they put one back. It was very, very nervy for DYNAMOS fan until a brilliant strike from Trinklin Kalonji Mwepu towards the end, which will be one of the goals of the season come the end of the season, which saw DYNAMOS win all 3 points. Now they are going into Choma. It's a very, very tough place to go to DYNAMOS. If they want to be a title-winning side, a side that will qualify for continental football, these are the games where you want to see your players stamping their authority.
Very, very interesting fixture that one is, and in the last 5 games, we have seen 3 goalless draws in that fixture, and one of the games, Green Eagles emerged victorious by winning 2-1, and the other one also powerful DYNAMOS will beat them by 2-1. So we will see how that particular fixture turns out to be this afternoon. Find your way to Independence Stadium in Choma and just support the lads there. Lumwana Radiants have a very, very good home record. In fact, NAPSA Stars travelled when they were facing each other in Eden last season, when it was still called Eden. I think Lumwana Radiants managed to beat NAPSA Stars in that particular game, and now they are hosting them at a different level in the Zambian Super League. And Lumwana Radiants looks set under Bilton Msonda to actually pose a very big threat to teams that travel to the Lumwana grounds.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting encounter. The last time these two teams met was in the National League, like you have said, and it was a battle between number 1 and number 2, and NAPSA Stars went there and dropped points. Lumwana Radiants, if I'm not mistaken, they went the entire season without losing a home game. They made it faultless at home, built on Musonda. You can see what he has done to build this side, and at Power Dynamos, they tried to play with a back three, but the undoing part is that none of the three centre backs was comfortable enough to try and come out of defence with the ball. They didn't look very, very comfortable in possession. They didn't create those triangles that you expect teams that play back three create triangles. They didn't create all the overloads that a team playing a back three would create. I think a bright spark in that game was one Richard Zulu. He was very, very good in central midfield. He made things happen. Every time when he was possession, he gave Power Dynamos problems. He will be one of those players that will try and win it this afternoon for them against NAPSA Stars, who haven't conceded any goal in the Super League since they returned. They have got Benjamin Mukanda in central defence. He looks very, very good. He's good in both boxes. He has scored 2 goals so far. He may prove to be the difference going into this afternoon's encounter. NAPSA Stars, they are playing some good football. It's good for the eye, but in the final third, that's when they need to get their act right. I think they are creating a lot of chances, but they cannot bury them. They have got very, very skillful and fearless attacking players like Musonda Kapembwa, Chaniza Zulu, Thomas Banda, Jimmy Mkea, Felix Banda. I think they just need someone who will be putting that ball into that net. Last season it was Musonda Kapembwa. If probably starts down the middle, give Lumwana Radiants problems. That's his former team. And going into this encounter, I probably see another draw.
Wow, interesting prediction in that particular encounter. Those are the Eden University graduates who are now applying their trade in the Zambian Super League. Lumwana Radiants will be hosting NAPSA Stars away in Lumwana, and we wish a good team to carry the day. Now, Brave Changa Rangers had a very nice trip to Lusaka last weekend, where they came and humiliated Sensational on the day. Not so sensational as Anako Football Club. They went on the score sheet first, where Tembo scored that wonderful goal before Logic Chingando equalized for Brave Rangers, and the icing on the cake was done by one Pedro Miguel, who scored the winning goal for Brave Rangers to leave Lusaka with maximum points back to Chingola. This afternoon, Changa Rangers are hosting Green Buffaloes Football Club, the Nyanta boys.
Nyanta, I think
it's
going to be a very, very good encounter. One thing is that the manager for Green Buffaloes in Masauso Tembo was in the Eden League together with this Changa Rangers team, so he understands what they bring to the table. And I remember Musa went there and probably picked up a draw when Masauso was in charge of Musa, but now they are going into this game as probably one of the teams with a 100% record in Changa Rangers. They beat Butekon on their opening game of the season. Then they went and came to Lusaka, beat Zanaco by 2 goals to 1. They've got a very, very dangerous attack. Pedro Miguel, Christian Saili. They've got young Kundangandu in central midfield. He can play as a 10. He can play in wide areas. He's very, very good and enterprising youngster. They're coming up against a GBFC side which has got a lot to prove this season. They started the season on a very decent note, picking up 4 points from a possible 6. They've signed Emmanuel Chabula. Can he bring goals to GBFC? That remains to be seen. Chabula has had 2 bad seasons under his belt. He needs to put that behind him and concentrate because he's being given another opportunity at GBFC. Probably Massa also trusts Chabula, and probably they have had discussions to try and see how best he can help GBFC and how best Massa also can help Emmanuel Chabula to get the goals. They have signed Daniel Chama, probably one of the best signings they have made during this window. Daniel Chama, I'm very, very surprised why Kansanshi Dynamos have let go of a very good attacking midfielder. He's going to bring something different to GBFC. He's going to bring a different dimension. Remember, in the first half of last season, they had Robin Siame and Robert Tembo, Robert Msonda, who were on top of their game at the start of last season. Then Friday Sam was getting them the goals. when these players started having injuries, it was difficult for GBFC. Now they've brought in the creative part of Muiza Siwale from Kafue Celtic, Emmanuel Chawula probably getting them the goals, and Daniel Chama in central midfield. They've got young Gordon Mashata, who has started the season on a very positive note. Yeah, they are going to Chingola against the Robert Tembo side, who like to build from the back. They like to dominate possession. It's going to be a scoring draw for me.
Pedro Miguel is back at Nchanga Rangers on loan from Zesco United, and Matthew Tembo will be facing his colleague Masauso Tembo. The two Tembos are battling it out in Chingola this afternoon, and may the best team win on the day. Let's shift our focus to the only Super League game that will be taking place in the capital city of Lusaka this afternoon, where Zambia Police is hosting not so electric Zesco United Football Club this afternoon at Edwin Boyla Stadium. I
think Zesco United, I talked about their first result at the President Stadium. I felt it wasn't a very bad result coming to the Presidents and picking up a point. And then they were hosting direct rivals to the title, the champions Red Arrows in Ndola. You would have thought Zesco United would have loved to have to show that they are still a powerhouse in Zambian football, send a statement to everyone in the Super League by trying and dominate and beating Red Arrows on the afternoon. But I was surprised with the negative approach Numba Mamba went into with the game. He went with two holding midfielders in Donashano Malama and Kelvin Kapumbo. I didn't understand why he did that, playing at Levi Mwanawasa Stadium, playing against your direct rivals. You'd love to stamp authority in games like that. And they played with an Alfred Leku guy. I think, to me, I'm not very impressed with Leku from what I've seen so far in the three teams tournament, which was hosted at Nkoloma Stadium in the first two games in the league. Yes, he scored at the Presidents, but you can see that he's a guy who thrives on service. If you do not create for Alfred Leku, if he cannot get goals for you, a lot of goals for you, he's not that kind of striker that will create his own chances and score you goals. But Zesco United, Numba Mamba, the pressure, every time Zesco United play, Numba Mamba is always under pressure. His tactics are always questioned. They're coming up against a very stubborn Quasi side playing at Imboila Stadium. They went to Hero Stadium, got a result against Snapsa Stars, but they are coming now at home. Probably they'll try and be a little bit adventurous and more expansive rather than being solid at the back. They've got young, promising young lads like Bernard Kumwenda. They've got Cardozo, the veteran, Christopher Zulu. He's the guy who can get them the goals and see them over the line and get 3 points against the Zesco United side. It's a game which is very tough to call, I must be honest, because you do not know where it will swing, which Zesco United side will turn up, which Nkwazi side will turn up. But from what I've seen from Nkwazi in the last two games, probably they may get a draw in this one.
Well, all the best to the team. We will be there to witness that particular encounter, and hopefully Nkwazi Football Club learned their lesson. They lost to Power DYNAMOS at Nkoloma Stadium, where they lost concentration in the last few seconds of the game in additional time, and we saw that they came back to reality when they faced Napsa Stars at Hero Stadium and got a point at that away fixture. And this afternoon, Numba Umambazi under pressure. He's only got 1 point from the possible 6 that he should have been sitting on. And now he faces a very unpredictable Nkwazi Football Club at home this afternoon at 15 hours, and we will find our way and just go and cover that particular game. Let's focus our attention to tomorrow. The biggest game of the day today, Saturday, is probably, in my own words, is Green Eagles versus Power DYNAMOS. Tomorrow, Sunday, Aba ready. The Usagire boys will be hosting the not so sensational Zanaco Football Club tomorrow at 15 hours. And Ghana Football Club have not lost a game this season. They are sitting on 4 points.
Yeah, I think Ghana, they showed their quality and where the football club is when they beat Beauticon by 2-1 at 3-1 at the Levi Mwanawasa Stadium. They are coming up against the Zanaco side, who I thought on transfer deadline they were going to go shopping, because from what they saw in the first 2 games, but they didn't do that. They feel they have got a good squad to try and challenge this season, but I don't think so, because that squad looks very, very poor. You do not see where the goals will come from. You do not see where the clean sheets will come from. It's going to be very, very tough and difficult for Zanaco. And they're coming up against Nkana side, who have brought in a couple of players. Probably the best signing was Musa and Harry Kayula. Bazo got the 2 goals. His confidence is up there. He will be the guy that will lead Nkana to victory and try and leapfrog the neighbors in power in the lose.
What is your prediction on this particular game?
Nkana to win by 2-0.
You are a man. Thank you very much. Nkana Football Club, all the best tomorrow as you host Sensational Zanaco Football Club, which becomes, for me, that's a very, very tough fixture, because Nkana Football Club and Sensational Zanaco Football Club are very, very close to my heart, and may the best team win tomorrow. Back in Kabwe, local derby, Prison Leopards will be hosting nothing but George Rwanda Minas, the Kabwe Warriors, the Sergeant Kabwe Warriors Football Club, that are coming from a very, very great win against Red Arrows in midweek on Thursday.
Both teams are coming from very, very good wins. If you remember, Prison Leopards, they went to Kansanshi Dynamos and won it by 1-0, which was scored by new signing in Luvinda Mundia. Now they're coming up against they're coming up against Kawaras in this local derby. The recent ones that we've had have ended in draws, and I see this one again ending in a draw, because it will be very, very tight. Bragging rights at stake. George Rwanda Minas team will go there. They will be very, very compact. They will be hard to break down. If Kawarara score the first goal, it's curtains. It's lights out for Prison Leopards, because if you look at Prison Leopards on the other side, they lost the 11 goals of Conlight Luchanga. They've brought in Luvinda Mundia, who did very well at Beautycon, and I feel this one will be a draw.
A reality check for Red Arrows in midweek when they lost to Cabo Warriors Football Club by a lone goal to 0. They are probably the only team that have played 3 games so far, and tomorrow they will be entering their week 4 when they host Kansanshi Dynamos, where we have seen our very own Sate bidding farewell to Nkana Football Club, and plying his trade at Kansanshi Dynamos, he could just find his way to Koloma Stadium and cause that upset that one Chisimbeye should be planning vigorously to avoid back-to-back defeats in that particular encounter. Red Arrows Football Club will be hosting Kansanshi Dynamos. I know where your heart is going to be tomorrow.
50% for both teams to win it. The last 2 meetings, Red Arrows and Kansanshi Dynamos, Red Arrows won the first meeting by 2-1. Bruce Msakanya scoring a couple of goals. Then the previous meeting, Kansanshi Dynamos won it by 3-0 at Koloma Stadium. So they will be coming in with that in mind. They came to Koloma Stadium and they won by 3-0. The only team that won at Koloma Stadium last season. And they're coming up against a Red Arrows side, which is just from being beaten at Kawa Warriors. And Red Arrows, they have got their sights on CAF Champions League football. They are playing Premier de Augusto just in a few weeks' time, and they will have that on the back of their mind going into this game against Kansanshi. They have got a crucial encounter in Champions League. How does Chisimbewe and his Tenko bench balance up the team? That's going to be very, very key. I feel one key player in this tomorrow's encounter will be Edward Tembo. I think Edward Tembo has had a very, very good start to the season for Red Arrows. He had a very, very good preseason. You saw when Red Arrows went to Zesco United, he dominated the central midfield, and he was very, very instrumental in seeing Red Arrows that they closed shop when they went in front by 1-0. It pushed Yusuf Saddam into attacking areas, and he caused problems for Zesco United. Every time when Saddam is playing a little bit high up the field, you see the best of him. He creates chances for the team. Ricky Banda is a man who is tightly marked in the Super League. Red Arrows would need to find a different route of attacking, because Ricky is being very, very much policed by central defenders. But coming at Ngoloma Stadium,
and his movements are predictable. That's why defenders are finding it very easy to actually defend and
against
protect
Ricky
themselves
Banda.
against
Yeah,
Ricky Banda.
I think they'll need to try and be clever Raiders in how they play, especially in the final third. And I feel Joseph Piri may just play a big role in terms of helping Ricky Banda, and I think Raiders will win it by 2-0.
All said and done in the Zambian Super League. Very quickly, in less than 2 minutes, let's look at our own boys who are plying their trade in the European leagues, and we saw our very own Enoch Mwepu starting in that particular midweek fixture where they actually lost in that particular match. And of course, our very own Fashion Sakala also made the start after a very, very long time in the course of the week. And we've also seen how our Syria A boy Lamek Banda is doing wonders. Away from Lamek Banda, you've already commented. Due to time, let's look at the other players that are playing their trade in Europe before we look at the fixtures very, very quickly.
I think Emmanuel Banda is one we should take note. I think he's doing very, very well in Sweden. Emmanuel Banda, he's having game time, he's scoring goals for them. Edward Chilufya, another one in the Danish league. He's seeing a little bit of game time, but the one who is most impressive in the Danish league is Luambo Msonda. He's been played as a wing back. I think twice now he's been in the team of the week. He's been doing very, very well. Fashion Sakala didn't do very well when he was given an opportunity. They've got an Old Firm derby against Celtic tomorrow. Can he be given a chance? And if he is given a chance, we really grab it with both hands. We saw Patson Daka come in against Manchester United at about 3 decent touches when he was introduced, created one of Leicester City's best chances of the game. Can Brandon Rodgers have faith in the boy and start him from the get-go?
That was a very good first touch.
Yeah,
from
I think what has been disappointing is that Patson Daka has had a very, very good preseason, but he hasn't been given a chance in the league. I do not know what the manager is trying to do. They're coming up against Enoch Mwepu's Brighton. I think they will need to put their house in order and get a result. Clint Skangwa is doing very well in the Serbian League. They missed out on Champions League football, but now they are in the Europa League, and probably will grow from there.
Due to time, interesting fixtures this afternoon. A local derby will see Everton hosting Liverpool Football Club. We'll look at that fixture. Secondly, our very own resurgent Eric Ten Hag's Manchester United tomorrow host the league leaders in Arsenal Football Club. What an interesting and sporting weekend it is, Augustine. Very quickly on those two before we shut down.
Yeah, I think Merseyside derby form was thrown outside the window. Liverpool have had a mixed start to the season, but they look favourites. They have always been winning this fixture. Manchester United coming up against Arsenal. Arsenal have been very, very brilliant. Their attacking force, I think they are very, very unpredictable. You do not know where they will attack you from. Coming up against United side, which has kept back-to-back clean sheets for the first time in a long time, it will be a very, very decent game to watch. And another one, a big one this evening, AC Milan against Inter Milan. They call it the Derby della Madonnina. It's the Milan derby. I
am seeing Inter Milan emerging victorious in that particular encounter. It's very, very tough.
I see AC Milan emerging victorious.
By the way, both teams are playing at home.
They've got Theo Hernandez, who will be very, very key for them. They've got Leao, the young striker from Portugal. I think Inter Milan, they've got Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez, but AC Milan will win this one by 2-1.
All the best, and we wish the teams that are participating in this weekend's fixtures all the best in their expected results. Augustine, your final remarks as we come to the end of the program.
I think it's been a wonderful show. A big thanks to everyone that tuned in. We always appreciate your support and your effort, and a big thanks to the entire production team for making this show possible. Let's fill up the stadium in the Zambian Super League. Let's trek to this stadium and support our local football.
Thank you very much to our dear viewers who've been tuned into this particular program, and we would like to ask all of you to go and have a sporting weekend by watching. Let's promote our own local football and trek to those stadiums and just support the lads as they battle it out in their different fixtures that are spanning across the country of Zambia. To our Camnet Stars that are hosting Kabwata Dynamos this afternoon at 15 hours, all the best to Camnet Stars, and we would like to get those results that will push us to the next level of Zambian football. From me, your host, Rabson Skombe, it's been a very, very nice show, and we would like to appreciate all of you for tuning in. We'll see you next weekend with another exciting show that will come to your screens at 9:30 hours next weekend. From now, keep watching Camnet TV, because Camnet is not just another channel. See you next weekend.